Dice Company contains fantasy violence, mature themes, and unapologetic bickering. No feelings were hurt in the making of it, but listener discretion is advised. Dice Company will always be free, but it's not free to make. Please consider supporting us on Patreon or Apple Podcasts and get access to our weekly roundtable show Extra Roll. Just follow any of the links in the show notes for this chapter.
The explosives on the Emperor's airship detonate. As it dips down towards the ocean, surrounding the maximum security prison known as the Fingers, the Sterling cuts through the snowy night air, and Augustus, Aurora, Bella, Vander, and Tick, you find yourselves stood on the poop deck, 2 friends down, but the prison break, successful.
Vander turns to observe the Ravager. Beautiful.
We made it out. Can't believe we made it out.
Neither can I. But what about Tock and Bennie and that other automaton? He saved us all.
I've no idea. Never seen anything like it before. A portal. But to where?
What did you see? I confess I was bound, as it were, on the ground in shark form.
I think it looked like it was swirling blue and they were kind of sucked into something. I haven't seen something like that either.
Intriguing. Powerful magic indeed. I don't suppose we saw the instigator of such a fine spell as that.
Well, ordinarily, Vander, I should have said it was the Empire. But since all their forces, and perhaps the Emperor himself, were present at the prison, it seems they didn't need to drag them into a portal. Unless, could it have been used to transport them up onto the airship?
Feels like there'd be easier ways to do it.
It does. In which case, perhaps we can hope for them that someone else, some other force, has taken them away, although their reasons I can't begin to guess.
Indeed, it seems unlikely that were someone to possess such power, that they wouldn't simply kill our 2 friends. The fact that they were transported via a portal suggests at least that they are still alive.
Do you know of any way we might track them or trace them?
Our best hope now, I believe, lies in the arts of Seraphina. She still possesses a connection to Bennie, and may well be able to discern his whereabouts.
So, these new friends, Augie, where did you meet them?
I admit, dear sister, that I am tired, and even the last question is somewhat difficult to answer. I should like to talk to you, if perhaps we can first set our destination. From what you say, Vander, it sounds as if we're heading for Sanctuary. Can the automatons handle the ship? I've been very badly injured and should need some rest once I've spoken to my sister.
Yes, Augustus, I believe it is time to turn to practicalities. Now,
And Vander turns to the group.
I welcome you all aboard the Sterling, but I should inform you that I trust no one.
And with that, Vander strides to the side of the ship and unhooks a boat hook, handing it to Otis.
Otis, please treat these new guests of ours with the utmost respect, but stab anyone attempting to sabotage our ship to death immediately. Again, welcome to the Sterling.
I feel very welcomed.
Standing on the deck, Vander looks down at what is left of his clothes. Transforming into a shark, it turns out, takes quite the toll on your attire. Looking back up,
Otis, please remove Kalen to my quarters.
Yes, Vander.
And with that, Vander shuffles in the direction of his quarters as well.
Bella, please take whatever room you want. Bennie's room is unoccupied. You can sleep there if you'd like to rest.
Would he not maybe feel odd about that if he, comes back and I've taken his space?
We'll all be delighted if he returns, but for now I think everyone needs to rest. I don't know what else we can offer you, really.
Okay, maybe just for now.
And I'll follow Augustus below deck.
Augustus, Aurora, and Bella head below decks as the snowstorm whistles around and you begin your long journey back to Sanctuary. We are back! Boom! Welcome one and all to Dice Company's Small Embers Chapter 45, where a group of old friends weave tales of triumph, heroism and despair under the guise of playing Dungeons and Dragons. My name is Tom, and I'll be your DM through the continuing adventures of what is left of the Order of the Heron and its group of persistent thorns in the side of the Empire. Persistent thorns in the side of the Empire, please introduce yourselves and tell us one fun fact about your characters.
Hi, I'm Charlie, and I still play, Vander Finnick. And my fun fact is this. Vander has died many times, but the last two felt different. He should have died when the killing fog touched his skin, but he returned to life instantly. His life as a shark was also brief, but again, he survived without his heart missing so much as a beat. Vander knows death well, and also knows that the interventions of the hands of fate wouldn't be so clumsy. Something or someone is keeping him alive. The question is why.
Ooh, that was awesome!
Mystery!
I want to know. Why don't I know?
I think the question is why bother?
Yeah, it should have ended the fact with, why bother?
Subtly different. Hi, I'm Alex and I'm playing Augustus, and my fact is another one crowdsourced from our friends on social media. This one comes from Steve Heineman on Bluesky, who says that Augustus got a rather unfortunate tattoo when he was a new adult. He thought it was draconic for strength and honour, but it turns out it meant not to be used as a floating device.
I look forward to proving that tat wrong. You will be a floating device.
So the heron is my second tattoo, as it turns out. Steve does not tell us exactly where this tattoo is located, but let's say it's not prominent.
I'm Beth from the podcast Raw for Imagination, and I'm honoured to be guest starring as Bella the Warlock. And a fun fact about Bella is that she has seen a lot, and not much scares her anymore, except from snakes. She's got an irrational phobia of snakes, and she has no idea why or where it came from.
I'm just recapping the last episode to think, was there a snake anywhere in there? I think dragons...
I don't think so.
Yeah, I was going to say dragons don't really come anywhere close, do they?
Hello, my name's Izzy and I play Aurora Zeno. Aurora is delighted to see Augustus again after some time, but she is appalled at how old he looks. Despite the year's difference, Augustus seemed haggard and ancient, while Aurora has maintained her youthful looks.
Life in the Fingers was easier than Augustus's recent past.
Oh, that says a lot about you, Vander Finnick.
I've done my best for you.
Also, I defend myself with the word rugged rather than old. I appreciate semantics.
After our summer break, we're back with a vengeance. First things first, to help celebrate our upcoming 1-year anniversary of release, we've begun releasing older episodes of Extra Roll for everyone. If you search for Dice Company Extra Roll wherever you get your podcasts, you'll see that Chapter 4 is already out, with a newly released episode every Friday. If you're looking for one place for all your Dice Company needs, please check out our Patreon. Starting today, there is a free membership available which will give subscribers all the episodes of Small Embers, Extra Roll, and the Tales of Clearvale, all in one place. Meanwhile, members of the Order of the Heron and Sweetheart tiers will continue to benefit from early releases, ad-free listening, and all current episodes of Extra Roll. For those wanting to keep up to date with announcements and to discuss the show, please head to our Discord server. While those of you on the hunt for some merchandise, check out our official website, dicecompanypodcast.com. Links for everything I've discussed are in the show notes. And we are delighted to have Beth continuing with us. Don't forget to check out her podcast, Roll for Imagination, and their current campaign, Myths of Favalonia. Don't forget to check it out wherever you get your podcasts. Download them all, give it 5 stars, spread the love. And please remember, perhaps they are not stars, but openings in heaven, where the love of our lost ones pours through and shines down upon us to let us know they're happy. And again, maybe not. So let's turn the page on the next chapter of Dice Company. Previously on Dice Company. Despite the accidental release of the young black dragon, the Order of the Heron liberated a number of prisoners from the Fingers. But as they made their daring escape, they found themselves in a fight against 3 Shadow Vanguard and their superior, Paragon Ohm. The fight was brutal, and as it looked like they would be defeated, a series of portals opened up and transported Tock, Bennie, and the ancient automaton Prisoner 1 away. Unsure of where they've been taken, those remaining, Augustus, Aurora, Bella, Vander, and Tick, turned the tide, defeated the remaining enemies, and escaped into the night on the Sterling as explosives detonated on the Emperor's airship, the Ravager. With the snowstorm hammering down, below decks, Aurora and Augustus are alone in Augustus's room.
Aurora sits in a chair by the desk and sighs a little, like even doing that is a challenge.
Augustus props himself up on the bed, leaning against a pile of pillows. Obviously, he's a bag of wounds and damage at this point, not to mention psychological trauma. I have so many questions for you, sister. Where have you been these last 3 years?
I've been doing things, Augie. Actually, actively doing things.
Doing what, though, sister? I met a traveller out in Roanoke, and he has sent me messages in the last few days saying that he's seen you at the Citadel. Have you been there? Obviously not lately. I'm very confused by it.
I've been many places, and the Citadel was one of them. When did the traveller claim to see me? When did these messages start?
I don't really know. I don't think he knows himself. His name is Corith. Does that sound familiar to you?
Corith? Sounds like an exotic drink. Not sure I've ever met someone with that name.
So let us leave that aside. Where have you been? You say doing things. Doing what? Fighting the Empire?
Of course I've been fighting the Empire, Augie. Of course I have. I've been investigating Father's death, trying to solve the riddle of what happened in Roanoke. I couldn't wait for you to make a decision about what to do. I'd waited long enough. We lost our kingdom. We lost our futures. We lost our father. What more did you need?
I'm sorry for that. I'm ashamed by it. I'm acting now.
So I see. By the heavens, you look exhausted, Augie. I haven't seen you this tired since the time you tried to catch a fish in the river with your bare hands, all to impress some girl you can't even remember the name of now. Hold still. And she grips her pendant and places her hand on your chest, healing you for 5 hit points.
Thank you, Aurora. But truth be told, I find these wounds, I don't want to say pleasant, but they wash away the far deeper sense of guilt I have for languishing at home for so long, even after you left.
How long did it take for you to come look for me?
Too long. But as I say, I'm here now. How did you come to be in the Fingers?
I spent over a year travelling to reach Roanoke. Turns out finding the way is not as easy as I thought it was. My time following leads and desperately trying to find any information to what happened to Roanoke and to Father, it took me an age. Turns out it's quite difficult to find anyone willing to venture into the remains of that place. In the end, I went there alone.
What stands there now? What is the Citadel? A ruin? A wreck?
It is a ruin, a stain on the history of Alestia. I don't know what power, what magics or weapon was used, but whatever did happen has left an open wound. A disaster area, centred at the Citadel. And in the basement of the Citadel is the library. That is where energy is spilling from. Some of the treasure hunters thought it was a tear in reality. The clerics thought it was a way to allow direct connection to their gods. The archivists thought it was a memory, distilled in some kind of energy matrix, a way of travelling extraplanar travel. All I know is that I heard a voice calling from the other side, beckoning me to enter the library.
The other side?
I have no idea what was on the other side, but I wasn't afraid.
Does anyone live there?
I don't think anyone could live in the Citadel anymore. But there are brave souls who ventured there. They spend their time in a makeshift tavern, taking turns to investigate what remains. The tavern at the end of the world. Someone had a sense of humour.
What of your friends? Where are the people you travelled with?
I don't know. We stepped into the library together. Something of a leap of faith. We stepped in, there was a burst of energy. Next thing I knew, I woke up and I was back outside the Citadel and surrounded by Imperial agents. That was 3 months ago. Then came the nightmares. Awful images of the burning of Denothlia, the destruction of Gothamer. You dead. Mother dead. It was horrible.
Well, again, I'm sorry for your suffering. I should have been with you. But I'm with you now. What have you discovered about our own family's past? What of Father's death?
No one talks about us anymore. Simply a forgotten family of the old country. I could find no rhyme or reason for Father's execution, no crumb of trail to follow. In many ways, these last few years have been a waste. I should never have left home.
You have at least been trying, sister, which is more than I can say for myself.
I will say this, you did at least find me. How did you find out where I was being held? I assume no one would have been mad enough to break into the fingers.
Curiously, we were already on our way to do exactly that when I first heard tell that you might be here. Our intention was to save one of the remaining Rojan, a man by the name of Kalen.
The Rojan are still alive, and you know of them? You've come a long way from the times of trying to convince people you can speak to animals, only to be chased into the family's living room by a flock of angry geese. I know nothing of the other prisoners. We were kept separated from one another, barely fed. It was awful. Awful.
Did they harm you?
Not in any way that matters. Aurora sits up a little straighter.
And so Augustus is now kind of searching for any sign of scars or any of the kind of damage that we now associate with people being sort of turned to the Shadow Vanguard.
Yeah, give me a perception check.
15.
You can see some surface level scarring, but nothing too bad. In fact, you would probably expect to see a bit more from someone who's been kept in the fingers for 3 months.
I will be direct, sister. Some of the prisoners held by the Empire are scarred in very particular ways. A network, almost a design, a pattern of scars that appears to be something to do with creating Shadow Vanguards. Has anything of that nature happened to you?
You're more paranoid than I remember. Aurora rolls up her sleeves to show you her arms and then lifts her hair to prove that there are no obvious scars. Happy?
I'm glad. And Augustus sort of sits back against the pillows and feels an enormous wave of both relief and exhaustion falling upon him.
So where do we go from here?
We go to regather our strength. There is a place to the south of Roanoke called Sanctuary, where another of the surviving Rojan and many other people are gathering in a place of protection to begin a fight back against the Empire.
I think I would like to go home, Augie. I know nothing has happened there, but I need to see it again. I wish to see Mother again. See the swing by the lake. Just to be sure. Do you understand?
I understand, and it may be that we can furnish you with an airship to help you go there. There is a smaller, lighter craft, as well as this one, and perhaps more now in the hands of what we call the Order of the Heron.
How many days' travel is this place in Roanoke?
To the south of Roanoke. I think it took us 6 days or so to reach here, so I imagine something similar on the way back.
There really is no need to take me all the way there. You could drop me off at Yarn in the south of Norskin. There are boats there, which will take me straight to Cantioch. All I would need is some gold to help gain passage.
I have many objections, sister, to that. Not least I want to keep you with me as long as I can. And also, I want to take you as far away from everything we have just left. The Emperor, his ship, his people, the prison, as I possibly can.
Okay. I think I'd like to rest now.
Please, take my bed, sister. I shall sleep on the floor, despite my very bad wounds.
Thank you, brother.
And Augustus does sleep on the floor. He does lie down to sleep on the floor because even he is not that much of a dick.
The first day of travel passes with you all resting from the trials and tribulations of the Fingers prison break. Outside the Sterling, the snowstorm has subsided, and the sun is shining, and the air is crisp and cool. The automatons move around the ship, performing their duties to keep you flying in the direction of Sanctuary. Kalen remains unconscious, while Eveline and Stephen Sikora sleep long into the day, waking only for food brought to them by Tick. Vander, you hear a knock at the door.
Enter.
Hello, Vander.
As Otis enters, he sees Kaelin still prone, but now on the bed in Vander's cabin. You can see that Kaelin's chest has been laid bare, so that Vander can observe any scarring that may have taken place.
Ah, Otis! Please ask Bella to attend my quarters.
Yes, Vander.
My thanks.
Bella, you hear a gentle 3 knocks on the door.
Hello?
Otis the automaton enters.
Hello, Bella.
Oh, what can I do for you?
Vander Finnick has requested your attendance in his captain's cabin, if you would be obliged.
Oh, sure, okay. Which way do I go?
Follow me.
Okay.
Can I get you any food?
Oh, maybe later?
Very well. We have excellent soup.
Okay, thank you. I'll bear that in mind.
And he marches, and you follow up to the captain's cabin on the poop deck of the ship. He knocks and enters and lets you in, and then closes the door behind you.
You find Vander Finnick sat behind his captain's desk. Where before you saw his clothes were torn and destroyed, you now find him dressed smartly in exactly the same black robes.
Ah, Bella! Forgive my asking you to attend my cabin at such short notice. Can I offer you some refreshment?
Do I see any refreshments, out and ready?
You see a cup of what looks like brownish sludge.
Forgive its rather unalluring appearance. My friend Tock has been styling himself an alchemist and has made an amalgam of creme de menthe. I assure you, though, the taste is quite fine.
And he offers you a cup of sludge.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I'll try anything. I'll take it from you. And if I have a sip, what am I tasting?
Literally like a combination of chocolate cake and creme de menthe.
Ooh.
It looks terrible, but it's quite delicious.
Okay, Bella's eyes open wide. She's never known anything so nice. And she's going to just drink it fairly quickly.
Exquisite, is it not?
It is indeed. I've never had anything like this before.
Soup in a cup, if you will.
Soup?
Vander leans back in his chair.
So, Bella, I would like to get properly acquainted, as our first conversation was in rather trying circumstances. I'm sure you'll agree.
Yes, absolutely. And you're Vander, I assume, from what I've heard?
Correct, I am Admiral Vander Finnick, and you stand now on the flagship of my fleet.
And Vander gestures grandly around him.
Well, it is an honour to meet you, Admiral Vander Finnick.
Vander seems visibly buoyed by that response.
And an honour to meet you too, Bella. Forgive an old man a frayed memory, but I don't know your surname.
Clearvale. That's the surname I was given. I assume that's how it always has been.
An intriguing name, no doubt with a history of its own. Tell me, Bella, where do you hail from?
It's kind of a long story. Have you got time?
We have a long journey ahead of us.
Well, I'm kind of from nowhere, exactly. I've been travelling for the past 9 years with, let's call her my mentor, doing the bidding of our patron. So the one that grants me my powers and her powers. We've been travelling together, although it was kind of her thing first, and it was a bit too much, and she needed an apprentice. So here I am, and that's kind of where I come from.
A mentor, a patron,
Vander considers.
Most interesting, and of course, I did observe the use of an incantation I know something of.
Oh?
Do you by any chance have an alliance of sorts? A source by which you gain such power?
I do. It's quite a complicated relationship.
I love complicated,
says Vander, settling further into his chair.
Well, like I say, my mentor, her name's Drusilla. She was under this patron for a very long time and doing his bidding, and when the jobs got too big for her to do alone, she found me, and I became her apprentice, So we started doing the bidding of our patron together. But it's not really my style. It's kind of evil. And I decided I couldn't do it anymore. And that's how I ended up alone and then being arrested and taken to the fingers. That was kind of my mistake, actually. I should have just stayed out of things. But yeah. So, I mean, I do have a source that my magic comes from. An alliance? I don't know if I'd go that far.
Ah, Bella, evil to some is a matter of perspective. More sludge,
says Vander, offering another cup to Bella.
She nods and holds out the empty cup, nodding a lot.
Sludge is passed.
So tell me, you seem like you were involved in quite the fracas before you found yourself the guest of the Fingers.
I don't even think it was that much, really. I saw this woman, and she was, I don't know, just being cruel, and it just seemed so unnecessary. And I don't know, it's like something just in my mind forced me to get involved, which again, in retrospect, maybe I should have not done that. And then I was arrested and taken to the Fingers. It all happened very quick, to be honest. The bit that I don't really understand is why I was kept in the Fingers for so long. I was there for months, but I was never really spoken to. I was never executed as what I was expecting. Nothing. I was just there for months until you came and rescued me. Which, by the way, thank you for that.
Ah, it was our pleasure, Bella. Though your tale is most interesting. I don't suppose you received any scarring from your stay at the Fingers?
No, nothing.
Well, where we found you was the maximum security section, which indicates at the very least that the Empire were interested in something of yours. I don't suppose you can shed any light at all on the matter?
I don't know. I really don't know. I'm not even really from around here. I have no idea. I don't think they could have known who I am.
And who is that exactly?
Somebody who does the bidding of my patron.
I see. Well, I think it is safe to assume that you have made quite the enemy in the Empire. So the obvious question to ask Bella is this. What are your views towards the Empire now you have been their guest?
Like I say, I'm not really from here. All I know is that, like you say, evil is a perspective, and my perspective is that the Empire are evil.
I quite agree. And you do appear to possess some significant powers to assert yourself, if I may say.
I'm still learning. Still in training. Well, I was. But I like to think I can do my bit when needed. But what about all of you? What's your story? I've heard you speak a lot of the Empire and fighting the Empire. Is that what you do?
We do all hate the Empire in our own fashion, though how we came by such a consuming hatred is a story individual to each of us. What has combined us, I think, into the party you see before you is our collective intention to right the wrongs of the Empire, whilst also fulfilling our own desires along the way.
And where are you planning on going from here?
From here, I believe we must travel to Sanctuary. There is a most powerful Rojan, if you're familiar with the term, by the name Seraphina. She possesses a connection to another of our party, Bennie, who is lost to us and who we dearly wish to recover. Are you familiar with the place Slateholm?
No, I can't say I am.
We frequented this town not so long ago, but it has since been overtaken by the Empire. My read of the situation is that things are escalating, Bella, and soon, whether we like it or not, we will all be forced to tread a path between running or fighting. Where do you think you fit into this rather perplexing little puzzle?
Well, I think the choice of running or fighting is one that I'm currently facing in my own troubles. I feel like it won't be long before my mentor, or even my patron, find where I am. Now that I'm out of the fingers and out of the anti-magic, I fear that they may be looking for me. I'd like to do what I can to help whilst I've got time, but I'm aware that my time may be ticking.
I sense a deep connection between you and these two you speak of. Would you welcome their finding you, or do you seek another path?
I think that's something that I maybe have been wondering for a long time. This is the first time that I've really been away. When my mentor was sleeping, I ran. It wasn't an agreed leave that I took. And I very quickly ended up in the fingers and have not been found, but I had a lot of time there to do a lot of thinking. And I feel that, although it would not be welcome, it's inevitable. And I've made peace with that one day I must go back to that life.
You weave a sad tale, Bella. I am no stranger to misery in my own life, and have myself spent considerable time in confinement, and am more than aware that the mind can be as destructive as any physical torment you may encounter. What I can say, though, is this. I believe we all have choices, as few as they may appear to us in certain moments of our lives. So allow me to complicate things further. I believe that you may be a fighter, Bella, and fighters badly need a cause to believe in. I have chosen to believe in our cause, the Order of the Heron, and I would be delighted to have you join us on our mission to subdue the Empire's loftier ambitions.
I've done a lot of evil in my time.
Good. Please continue.
And I feel maybe helping you with your cause might be a way of me beginning to undo some of that.
Yes, redemption. The most powerful of motivators.
Exactly. So whilst I am with you, I will pledge that I will do what I can to help your cause. But I will say, I don't think it's going to be a long-term solution. I know them well enough. I know that I won't be able to stay away from them forever. And I wouldn't want to bring that trouble onto you and your party.
That is fair, Bella. I doubt the troubles you have could possibly amount to the troubles we have already brought upon you by association to us. So at the very least, we are fast friends, to put it one way. I am most intrigued by this patron you speak of, and this mentor. Perhaps we could speak further on the subject very soon. But for now, I would like to toast our new friendship and truly welcome you aboard the Sterling. I don't believe we need to guard you with a boat hook any longer.
And Vander pours a final cup of sludge.
Bella's going to hold it up in a cheers.
Vander joins her.
And thank you for your welcoming hospitality. I think I shall be most comfortable here.
You certainly shall. Bennie is nothing if not generous, so please do enjoy his quarters.
And Vander cheerses.
A few hours later, Vander, you are in your quarters when Kalen groans and shifts slightly.
Vander rises from his chair and places his cane on the ground, and then moves back to his chair so he appears again behind his captain's desk while he awaits Kalen to revive.
There is more moaning and groaning, and Kalen's eyes peel open. They are pink and heavily bloodshot. Where am I?
Kalen. You are back in the world of the living again. You recognize my voice?
Vander Finnick.
The very same. You, Kalen, are in my cabin aboard the Sterling. You may stay prone, though, if you can't rise.
I think I can rise. And very awkwardly, he kind of tries to push himself up. He looks like he's struggling quite a bit. But he does eventually sit up.
You rescued me.
We did, Kalen. We owed you a debt. I should say that your work in Haven was nothing short of heroic. Among the best traditions of the Rojan of old, if I may say.
The people of Haven are safe.
They are. Now ensconced in a new sanctuary, which cleverly has been named Sanctuary.
A slight lack of imagination. But good.
You're correct, we are always rather more interested in the practical over the whimsical.
Was Valyria on the ship?
Yes.
That is good.
I have some questions of my own, though, Kalen, if you would indulge me.
Of course.
As you sit up, you notice that there is smoke clearing from the room and that a pentagram lies drawn on the floor before Vander's desk.
I don't suppose, even in your current state, Kalen, you could do a broken man a favor and return my cane.
He looks at the cane and the pentagram and the smoke. He grunts and groans as he pulls himself out of the bed.
I'm in quite a bit of pain.
Ah, yes, of course. You couldn't be in better company as far as that conversation goes, I feel.
The design on the floor?
Do not mind the pentagram, a simple summoning charm to return my familiar.
And you see Bellerophon beadily eyeing you from the desk.
Hello, Bellerophon. It's been a while.
You get a welcome lick.
Once upright, Kalen holds his hand out and your cane flies into his hand. He uses it to steady himself. Slowly, he hobbles over to you, bearing more than a passing resemblance to you as he does so. With a twist between his fingers as he squints in pain, he hands you the cane and then begins to sway without it.
Vander lashes forward with an unusual agility, snatches the cane with one hand, and extends the other to steady Kalen. I'd like to do an Arcana check. I'm looking for signs that Kalen has been changed by his treatment at the fingers.
Ooh, do it.
17.
17's a good roll. He bears all the hallmarks of months of torture, very similar to your own. So from a physical standpoint, he is completely broken. From an arcane point of view, however, as you place your hand on his, there is a flicker of arcane energy, which you recognise as that of Kalen's. Whatever they did to him in the fingers, you're confident that you were able to save him just in time. In fact, you appear to have rescued him at roughly the same point you yourself were rescued.
Please, Kalen, be seated. It must be a struggle to stand in your state.
And Vander gestures at the chair on the other side of the desk.
And Kalen sits back down.
So, satisfied I'm not on the Empire's payroll?
I am never satisfied, Kalen. But yes, I am satisfied that you are not completely changed. Though, from the rather intricate scarring I observed on your chest, you have met Joseph.
That is a name I wish I'd never encountered. Yes, I've met him.
And did you admire the dark blade he carries? The sword he favours?
He may have used a sword on you, old friend, but he used a sickle on me.
Vander leans back in his chair with a smile.
A minor subterfuge, Kalen. If you are lying, then at least you are consistent, for Joseph indeed prefers the sickle. He has worked on you, though, and that changes a man. I know from my own experience. I remember well the young noble Cyril Highmore striding through the Dread Gate. And years later, Vander Finnick shambling out via the sewer. How have you been changed?
He worked on me. He called it his grand tapestry. So cold, his eyes. He seemed to have no emotion at all. It was unbearable. They were attempting to do something to me. Convert me somehow. I do not know to what. I'm just glad I am out. that I'm free before it was too late.
I met Joseph towards the beginning of his explorations. Back then he was indeed starting on what he calls his fine work, though he hadn't learned the talents he appears now to possess. It is clear to me, though, that this rending of his is how he creates the most devout among his following, the Shadow Vanguard, or Fallen Rojans, to put it in another fashion. I don't suppose he shared any of this with you. Joseph is a talker.
He is a talker, but his obsession was discussing what he could do to me. Fortunately, Lady Omicron, well, I feel like she was lonely. You couldn't shut her up for telling me everything that's been going on.
How interesting. And what was it that Lady Omicron divested to you?
The Emperor. He's surrounded himself with powerful arcane users. Paragons Ohm and Ra, and Chastigate Lorn. I don't know where he found them, but they control the weave like no other I have ever encountered. But, as with all those who wield great power, they are prone to hubris. And in a moment of distraction, I saw it. The truth. Salazar's fury may be undiminished, but his body is not. He masks a deteriorating condition with simple illusions, but there's no doubt in my mind. He's dying, my friend.
Degeneration, says Vander, reclining in his chair. This is news indeed, Kalen. By your estimations, can the Emperor continue to survive in this diminished state?
He survives for as long as the gods deem him worthy. And the further he deteriorates, the less worthy he is. There's uprisings all over the Empire. I presume something to do with you at the very least.
Well, a little nudge here, some persuasion there, and who knows how the dice fall. But yes, my gnarled hand does have something to do with the malefaction you may have heard whispers of.
Well, you've clearly done a good job, because he's losing his grip. And I suspect his mind with it.
And what connection do you see between the work Joseph is engaging in and the Emperor's ambitions?
This is a question I have asked myself for months. Every time he worked on me. And he got the truth. Joseph always gets the truth in the end. But he seemed unimpressed by my knowledge of the Emperor. He seemed like he didn't care. Like he was working on his own plans.
That surprises me little. Joseph, above all, appears to crave new flesh, most particularly that of the Rojan, and of their number. You, of course, Kalen, would have represented quite the prize to one such as Joseph, I imagine.
Indeed, my friend. But Bennie, where is Bennie?
Vander's eye turns down for a second.
Lost to us, I'm afraid. A portal was created during the escape, and two of our party, Bennie and our automaton Tock, were swallowed. We know not where they have now been summoned to, though by my estimations, they must still be alive.
This is grim news. Joseph wants Bennie. He sees him as something else, something beyond a Rojan. It's not like when we went through our trials. His strength is innate, an inheritance perhaps, bloodlines.
Bennie is an orphan, so his inheritance, such as it is as much a mystery as his early years, even to Bennie himself, though Serafina took a particular fascination in Bennie when they met. That, of course, suggests, too, that Bennie has some significant part to play in all of this.
Who is Serafina?
Of course I refer to Nocturna.
Nocturna is alive. Hope from unexpected places.
Hope of a sort. I am not shall we say, aligned to her view of the Rojan's part to play in all of this. I find Seraphina's rather noble disposition dull.
It may be dull, but the more power on our side, the better.
It is a sad fact of life that dull is often as powerful as interesting. I should say, though, that our course is set for Seraphina and Sanctuary now, as I believe that she possesses a connection to Bennie, which will, of course, reveal his whereabouts.
That is a good plan, my friend. But if what you say of Seraphina and your relationship is true, then I must tell you one last thing before we arrive, and I will leave it to you to decide whether to pass it on to Seraphina.
I am not unused to such situations. Please speak, friend.
In order for the Emperor to survive, he needs to perform a ritual. He has all the books he needs, but he's lost Morven, and he's obsessed with a handful of items. He calls them the Alochian benedictions.
Bloody rituals. I have not heard of the Alochian benedictions, but they do indeed sound most powerful if the etymology of the words are correct by my ear.
They are very powerful gifts from literal deities. Do you remember the obsidian matrix that Engram always played with? That thing on his wrist?
I know of it.
That is one of the benedictions. That is the reason he burned Roanoke. He summoned the power of his god to annihilate the region, knowing that the Matrix would survive. But he failed, because it was already gone. Tell me, friend, have you been back to the Citadel since we last spoke?
I have heard whispers from the Citadel through contacts my friends possess, but have not myself seen the place in some years.
Probably for the best. Lady Omicron, very chatty, and she told me there's energy there. Like something is broken with the world. She couldn't explain it, but that is the kind of power we're dealing with. Salazar cannot be defeated with simple arcane tricks. He must be stopped from finding the heirlooms he seeks.
A boon to the Emperor, or a weapon for us? This is most interesting.
I thought that might whet your appetite, old friend. I can go a stage further, too. I believe one of the items is held in Cantioch, the other in Crimson Reach. It is the only reason for the Emperor's latest diversions. Do with that information what you will.
We shall see then what Seraphina has by way of assistance for us then, and choose carefully whether to include her in the possibilities, shall we say.
That seems sensible, old friend.
It is good to see you again, Kalen, even if you are somewhat diminished.
Just a state of mind.
You will find ample quarters on the lower decks of the ship. Please do select one to your liking.
Thank you.
And he gets up and begins to hobble towards the door.
As he moves in the direction of the door, Vander leans towards Bellerophon.
Watch him.
Later that day, with all four of you gathered on the poop deck, basking in the bright sun, you hear a sudden scream from below decks. Rushing down to the bottom level, near the capacitor, you find Otis, holding a bloody hook, stood over Eveline the Tiefling. She is unmoving in a pool of blood.
Vander, she was attempting to sabotage the ship.
Fine work, Otis, says Vander, shuffling forward. Who among us saw this, or is it just yourself, Otis, that witnessed this sabotage?
I made sure to stay close to her at all times. She was attempting to destroy the ship and remove our ability to fly.
How interesting that someone we could save from the fingers would try such foolish action. Did you observe anything else in her behavior other than the sabotage itself?
It is difficult to judge human emotions, but she did seem sad.
I would imagine being stabbed to death with a boat hook would make you somewhat perturbed. Bella!
And Vander twists in the direction of Bella.
I am somewhat familiar with the kind of powers you may possess. Is there any force you could bring to this situation? Maybe something to determine what our tiefling friend may have been up to prior to their gruesome death?
Don't think so. I think my mentor can do that sort of thing, but she's a lot more powerful than me. Something that maybe I would learn in the future, but at this stage, I don't think there's anything I can do to help here. Although, does anyone know who she was? What was her name?
If the prison records we saw are to be believed, the name was Eveline Caxton.
And does that mean anything to anybody?
Not to me.
Any clues about why she might be against you guys? Did she know that you were against the Empire? I guess she must be if she's in the Fingers.
It is curious.
Vander uses his cane to lay open the tiefling's robes to see if we can witness any scarring.
Her body is heavily scarred. She also has her horns, which have been kind of shaved down.
I can help here. And Aurora takes a knee by the body, grips her pendant, and mutters an incantation. I'd like to cast Speak with Dead.
Okay. The body begins to shake momentarily before sitting bolt upright. Eveline's eyes are glassy white as she looks around at you all, awaiting the first of the questions.
We can ask 5 questions and she must speak honestly.
Augustus just stares at Aurora in blank horror.
I see.
Vander turns his back so that he's facing the group so as not to ask a question out of turn.
I suspect that, based on the scarring, she has been compelled to act. I suggest my theory is supported by the sadness Otis observed when he was forced to extinguish this life. Now, what 5 questions could we ask to learn more of that story?
Perhaps we could start, Vander, with why she attempted to sabotage the airship. That might open many more doors.
A fine starting point.
Why did you try to sabotage the airship?
Joseph made me do it.
What did Joseph do to you?
He wants the ship to come down. He did terrible things to me until I had to beg for death.
So Augustus just turns as an aside to Vander and says, Vander, how close a watch are you keeping on Kalen?
I have 2 eyes firmly trained on him. Do not fear, Augustus. That little loose end is still tied up, so to speak.
Okay, so Augustus turns back to the talking zombie corpse and says, who were you before you found yourself in the Fingers?
My name's Eveline Caxton. I grew up in River City with my brother, Curious.
Maybe we should ask. And I'm going to make sure that I'm very clearly not asking the dead tiefling. Maybe we should ask how she ended up in the Fingers. Maybe there's some sort of resistance that she was part of.
A good question.
Vander turns and repeats the question to the visage.
Me and Curious were part of the Thunder Company in River City. We had a great time messing with the Empire.
Troublemakers do indeed appear to meet a most austere response from the Empire.
Vander takes care not to phrase that as a question. Vander turns back to the group.
In order to get the most information possible, it strikes me the final question should be forward-facing, so to speak. Perhaps if we were to ask the tiefling how he might take vengeance, it might expose a weakness in the Empire.
Eveline responds. To take vengeance against those who wrong me, I would visit Lumaton and find the Dark Blade's twin. It's in the possession of Wolf Eriksson, and I would use it to kill Joseph.
Vander's eye opens to the fullest extent at that.
Having finished speaking, Eveline's body falls back to the floor with a thump.
Right, well, that calls for a drink, I think. Who will join me in the galley?
Perfect.
I'll join you for a drink in a bit. I'm parched.
A wise decision, I think, after quite an eventful few minutes.
And Vander shambles towards the location of the galley.
So Augustus approaches the body and glances at Aurora in some sort of concern about this power that she seems to have, which is kind of feels to Augustus bordering on, I don't know, definitely creepy. I don't know, feels like she just animated a corpse. Definitely a difficult brother-sister chat coming up. I want to do ceremony, which is I want to do a funeral rite. Okay, so it says you touch one corpse and for the next 7 days the target can't become undead by any means short of a wish spell. But more specifically, Augustus feels responsible for the death of this creature, feels it probably shouldn't have been necessary, and obviously given his oath of redemption, feels he could have perhaps helped in the way that Kaelin is being helped towards a different path. So Augustus sort of kneels down and kind of closes his eyes and prays to Tyr and conducts a solemn funeral rite. And then perhaps with the help of the automatons, sees that the body is kind of properly dealt with and, you know, flung over the side with all military honours.
With the ceremony complete, the automatons carry the body up to the poop deck and throw it over the side, as is tradition.
Order of the Heron tradition.
Aurora watches with interest as you do that.
With the ceremony complete, Aurora and Augustus join Vander and Bella in the galley. The galley is still full of all of Tock's plants, including the one plant pot which is currently wrapped in his pillow.
Please forgive the abundance of Jerema trees,
Vander says, gesturing at the various plants.
Please also forgive that the premium sludge remains in my cabin and I only have earlier incarnations here in the galley.
And he begins to pour out an assortment of different types of sludge to each member of the party.
Times are lean,
he says as he passes them around.
Bella looks at hers with really hopeful eyes.
So does Aurora.
Hope. So often the prelude to something worse.
And Augustus raises his glass to that and just knocks it back.
So does Aurora.
So does Vander.
Yeah, Bella too. Is it just as good?
Which bottle did you take from? 1, 2, or 3?
I mixed it up.
You mixed it?
Well, some people got 1, some people got 2, some people got 3.
I mean, if we're going to do this, we're going to do it right.
I was going to say, in Harry's finest traditions.
Augustus, yours is awful. Aurora, yours is also awful. Bella, yours is quite nice.
Perfect.
And Vander, also quite nice. Too nice, too bad.
Refreshing.
So Augustus, with the bitter taste of awful, I don't know what to call it, imitation creme de menthe in his mouth, just feeling completely beaten up by everything that's happening, just looks at Aurora and says, "How did you do that with the tiefling?"
I channeled the power of my god, the same way I was able to heal people in the fingers, and you earlier.
That is true, sister, and we should definitely discuss it. But I wondered what god would give you such a power. It seemed, if you'll forgive me...
Don't start, Augustus. I see that look in your eye. Don't you dare judge me. Don't look down on me because I worship a nace. We don't all have to follow the same god. Isidore for you, I suppose.
Tyr.
Tyr! Exactly. We all follow different gods. Let's try being a little less judgmental of each other, shall we?
I was not being judgmental, sister, only curious. Making a corpse speak seemed a questionable action.
You seem to have it all figured out. Although I fail to see the difference between getting information this way rather than, say, compelling a living creature to speak in a zone of truth.
It is so often a matter of perspective,
says Vander, chipping in unhelpfully.
Captain Moral Relativism is here.
Hi.
It was certainly useful, sister, and I thank you for it.
You're welcome.
So many of us aboard have such interesting connections to otherworldly forces, do they not, Bella?
I guess you could say that.
I guess I could. Speaking of lighter matters, before we return to business, you've all been holding out on your friend Vander.
How so?
Well, I experienced a delightful moment in our escape. Life with teeth. Vander will have teeth again. You should have reminded me the joys of having a fully formed bite.
Augustus, feeling a strange fellow feeling with Vander and a simultaneous distance from Aurora, raises his glass to Vander and says, "To teeth."
Vander pours another range of shots.
Teeth!
And enthusiastically cheerses that.
Bella shrugs her shoulders and then also cheers for teeth.
It's the small things, isn't it, that make life worth living.
Vander chuckles, enjoying that other people have joined him in this tangent.
Aurora does not cheers for teeth.
But again, I'm afeard we must return to the hub of the matter. I know the name Wolf Eriksson. I crossed paths with his kind during the war. We approached him for assistance, but he refused to take sides. A very disappointing moment at a critical time in our realm. He will not be an easy person to bargain with. No doubt the Dark Blade will be most difficult to gather to our side, so to speak. There is the other problem as well,
Vander says, looking skyward.
And what problem is that?
Wolf is a vampire.
And we will end it there.
I was so cheesy for that. I was like, damn it, I want to talk about that.
Seven fucking hells. We have to go and see a vampire
who has like now one of the most powerful blades. And so Wolf Eriksson was in our original campaign now.
Yeah, I didn't remember him being a vampire though.
He was. You just didn't know.
He's a, as soon as that name came out, I was like, oh, fuck.
On the outskirts of the dark forest, the inky sky is full of stars. It would be peaceful if it wasn't for them. In a clearing, two pink portals swirl as two identical strange women with beetle wings wave their hands around and chant. This is magic you haven't seen outside of the Queen. One of the two is grasping a staff with an acorn head, which glows white with energy, and she stabs it into the ground as a third portal opens. Both women seem in pain. Suddenly, through one of the portals crashes a man made of metal. He slides to a stop at their feet, unmoving. Both women are holding pieces of parchment which crumble to dust in their hands. Seconds later, another man of metal lands gently on 2 feet. Travellers from strange places? This is like the storybooks. You wish you could remember the name of the traveller who arrived here 12 years ago. What was it now? Braveheart? Lionsbane? Lionheart, that was it. The Lionheart. You move behind a tree closer to the event. Are these people the reason for the problems in the dark forest? They don't seem evil. Even the metal men have some wooden parts.
Nocturna, you're using too much power. Willow has rules for a reason.
Must protect the obsidian matrix. No choice. One of the women replies, and she begins to scream. The second woman suddenly bursts, her body turning into butterflies and flying away harmlessly into the night air.
They need protection.
Her body begins to shake and glow with brilliant white light. If that wasn't strange enough, the metal man pulls off the arm of the other metal man and holds the forearm to his face. A strange voice rings out from somewhere.
Arnold Schultz is one of the most intelligent humans in the world.
Then a beam erupts from the arm, creating a fourth portal, although this one is flickering. One of the first portals pulses, and through it flies a small person in black. He skids along the grassy ground and comes to a stop, slowly getting to his feet.
keep Bennie safe. He's a Rojan. His mother was...
Unusually, the woman kneels down and turns into a statue. All 4 portals close. This is so strange. Where have these travellers come from? If these people are responsible for the troubles, then you had really better find out. It's your job after all. You move towards the clearing, being careful to sneak up behind a statue. Fortune favours the brave, and you might as well introduce yourself and find out exactly what's happening. You hop out from behind the statue.
Welcome to Concordia, furless ones. I am Sebastian Longpaw of the Forest Guard, and I will know. Do your strange, furless, earless creatures mean the forest harm? Or are you friends? For if you mean us harm, I warn you, you shall face my wrath.
You've been listening to Dice Company's Small Embers, starring Dave Windust as Bennie Quez, Alex Morrison as Augustus Zeno, Charlie Blackadder as Vander Finnick, Beth as Bella Clearvale, and Harry King as Tock, with Tom Patrick as your Dungeon Master.
The humans of Dice Company would like to thank the following sweethearts for their support. Marshall 001, Marky B, Darcy Thompson, Jenny the War Camel, Stephen Sakura, Nori Gosler, Mickey Arnold, Happy Daddy Scotty, Tika, S.J. Phionics, Richard Ungamus, Rabbi Camel, Team Vander, Paris Pakar, Path Pursuit, Julia Zeno, Shovels, Mama Strange, Queenie, Liz Beckett, Axel Runholm, and Chris from North London.
Welcome to the fucking not. It's not the Ravager. Welcome.
I think it's from your time working for the Emperor that you'd have said that.
Yeah, I just want to go evil. Welcome to the Sterling.
Can I just check your plan here? You want him to stab people to death with a boat hook?
Trying to establish trust, Al. Okay. Trying to establish trust. It's very difficult to trust Lowe's Jones. It's much easier when you've got a boat hook.
I feel like the hook points back towards the handle. I think that it's not a stabbing device.
Are you trying to lecture me on boats and boating?
I am not. I withdraw.
Then welcome to the Sterling.
Yes, Vander.
I feel very welcomed.
You missed your bizarre, like huzzah or hey. Or...
I'm dropping it as a bit. I've run out of expletives and exclamations, etc. That was fucking wonderful.
It's a really cool backstory. I really like. It's so dark. I love the. I'm getting like a serious witch vibe from this terrifying person who's mentored you.
Yeah.
I assume she's going to pop up somewhere and be absolutely fucking terrifying as well.
I don't know. Maybe.
You mean the future Mrs. Finnick?
It's Vander's mum, everyone.
Introducing Vander's mum. You naughty boy.
No.
Yeah, I'm now scared of all animals that are not in their natural environment.
Yeah.
Bees underwater.
You remember that amazing fact where someone said, bees kill more people than sharks? And then someone else pointed out, but if sharks were floating around in your garden, that stat would quickly be reversed. I thought, yeah, fair enough. That is true.
That is true. It's environment specific. If they could buzz up to your herb patch by your back door, just bite your head off.
Yeah.
Unless they were bee-sized, and then they probably wouldn't be very dangerous.
You're right. This topic needs exploring.
Yeah. Cancel the podcast. We need to do a deep dive on bee sharks. So when I gave Bella Benny's room, I thought that was the only room we had spare. Now apparently we have ample quarters.
Vander's full of shit.
We have ample quarters. Good luck sleeping under a barrel, you jerk.
Yeah, that'll be really awkward now when Benny comes back and Bella's just in his room, but there's loads of spare rooms.
Yeah, it's like, why have you done this? For some reason, I thought we were on a small ship with like 4 rooms.
Vander just loves massively aggrandizing what he has. I mean, he's not really an admiral, is he? And his airship is far from great. So he probably...
Bella does believe that he's the admiral because she doesn't know any better. So you've made that a thing now.
Is absolutely. Tell you what, when you said that, you respected Vander for being an admiral, I couldn't help but be like, Vander is so pleased that finally someone has accepted this. So
we were Everline and the Fingers.
I mean, that is a great name for a band.
And that totally is a jazz band name. What's a gentler way of saying it seemed a bit freaking creepy?
Abomination. Heresy.
Yeah, abomination. Perfect. Thank you so much.
Wish!
And dive off the ship. No.
Lore.
Thanks for listening. Please consider supporting Dice Company on Patreon, where for the price of a cup of coffee, you get access to a whole other show, Extra Roll, as well as an ad-free listening experience. The Dice Company Discord server, along with our socials, can be found on our link tree in the show notes. If you enjoyed this chapter, please like and subscribe, and don't forget to recommend us to your friends. If you didn't like it, recommend us to your enemies. And we'll see you next time on Dice Company.